Hello, good evening, everyone. We are gathered for an informational meeting of the Augusta City Council. It is Thursday, May 28, 2026, and we have an early start tonight. We're starting at 6 p.m. as opposed to our usual 6:30 p.m. start time for an informational meeting because we have scheduled a community forum to start at 7 o'clock. So we want to make sure we can get time for our informational agenda in before we break and go to the community forum. When we do break to go to the community forum, we're going to be conducting that downstairs on the first floor in our lecture hall, and the council chambers will become an overflow room. If there isn't enough room for everybody who wants to attend the forum, and you'll be able to watch it from upstairs but not testify, you'll have to come down if you want to do that. So let's first take care of business under our informational meeting agenda. We begin our meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance followed by a moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Can when the city manager and I sat down to prepare the agenda, or actually the city manager proposed that we purposely made it relatively short so that we would have time to get through it by 7 o'clock and within an hour. So our agendas read and go as follows. Part A, as usual, is persons wishing to address the city council. We've submitted a formal request to do so, and we have one of those tonight, Ms. Jane Whiteside. We'll come back to you. Part B is the open comment period for any persons wishing to address the city council. And that portion of the agenda, we invite public comment on items on the agenda or otherwise. And Part C is our listed items or topics of discussion, and those for tonight are essential air services discussion and proper display of taxi cab driver identification. So with that, we return to the top of the agenda in Part A. Persons wishing to address the City Council have submitted a formal request to do so. I invite Jane Whiteside up, and I ask you to speak.
Yeah.
When you speak, speak directly into the microphone, so not only everybody
here. I
hears
got
you.
a few things I got organized here.
And, all right.
I have my papers.
So I think the city manager maybe let you know ahead of time that we limit our comment to 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
I'll just keep this. Start with it. My name's Jane Whiteside, and thank you for the opportunity to present today to the City Council. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about relationship to Goal 5 that you have for the City Council goals, something I've seen in the community. This has been going over a number of years, not just this community, but every community. But with your goal, it's improving quality of life by enhancing community spaces, community activities, and maintaining public order. And I think there needs to be like community space. We talk about also fast food restaurants in particular, public accommodation, private business interface there. You have that, that's kind of unique. So I've been looking at your web portal and watching the television presentations about having homelessness being a concern, and I'm aware of Waterville, and I've communicated with you in emails about some of my concerns, particularly regarding this area. And I know you're improving upon presentation, accommodation for people and having good things, but just as a reminder, other states have other ideas, and Wisconsin has a really good portal to look at the way things are set up. Maybe that's more of an idea for the state to look at the way meetings are all set up so they're sort of similarly done, like school board as well as city council. So that's a concern. And then I just wanted to remind you of some resources out there. Civility is a real concern, which we've been talking about. And there's a resource, it's called The Soul of Civility by Alexandra Hudson. She's on C-SPAN a lot of the time, and she's had presentations there. I recommend that, as well as, now, I know with school boards, city councils, they have associations, but there's different still resources, one from the University of Nevada, promoting civility in our civil spaces, which is really good, but I'm sure there might be something that the City Council Association in the United States would have an idea for. But I'm mainly here to talk about an experience when I was younger. I can show it to you. There was people I know were involved in an armed robbery at a fast food restaurant. This was back in 2005. It's affected me somewhat. And I do have the city coins from the police here, that I got 2 of them. And the thing is, I keep thinking about this, a lot of concerns in the news, not just Augusta. They got them for, people I knew got them for calming 3 employees and tracking down the robber. Maybe not the best idea for one of them to do that. But there's a real concern out there about what goes on in fast food restaurants. I've worked in them in the past, in the 1980s in Augusta, but also the 2000s in Portland. And the aspects about consumers, owners, and managers and employees, a lot of times these franchisees and their organizations purport that they're trained on people that work in these restaurants or trained in public safety or having updates, and that's just not the case, and it wasn't back then, and probably definitely isn't now because of turnover. So we need to look at diverse points of view. Sometimes employees in fast food restaurants or other restaurants, they don't have the access to city councils. They don't have the places to talk about their concerns. So we want to think about that. And because they don't know how to center themselves if there's an emergency or something like that. So a lot of concerns in Auburn. A couple years ago, they had some drug problems in the drive-through, as well as the restaurant owner, drug trafficking. That's like the worst thing ever. And recently in South Portland, they had a Burger King brawl. But Auburn addressed their concerns with something called, I've communicated with you, of police program, PACE, Proactive Community Enforcement. I'm not sure if it would be just in that area, but fast foods would be a good part. And the reason why I bring up the fast foods, have some serve safe training. They have information from them about workplace safety. Like I said, that's not addressed, but the main thing I think about, resource that you had is still on the internet, LexisNexis Community Crime Map. Augusta still has it up there, the data, as well as I think Portland gets updated. And we have a few places here in Augusta. I don't want to talk about all the crimes, but a few of them, they've been in business. I looked just over a record. They've got 50 incidences at them, 50 incidences at them. And luckily, it's not an armed robbery, but there's a lot of things adding up. Assault, theft, domestic violence, OUI, other things. And sometimes it could mean not necessarily always the customer. Sometimes it's probably things you probably hate to deal with, like the interactions between managers and employees about some sort of fight later in the day at a restaurant. And that's not just here, that's in the United States. And then one of the worst things was you probably heard about it, the Southbridge, Massachusetts. Have you heard about that before? That was an awful, Southbridge, Massachusetts, awful incident about 2 weeks ago at the McDonald's, is purported, or alleged. So I want you to keep this all in mind.
I know the time goes quickly.
It's a gray zones, but it's something that's a public safety concern. Okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Councilors have any questions? If you're willing to entertain questions? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you. I'm going to stick around and watch the rest.
Okay. All right, we move next to Part B, open comment period for any persons wishing to address the city council.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Lamoureux, living on Riverside Drive, Ward 4. Yes, so I won't be talking long because it's just open comment period, and I know you guys have a busy schedule, and I won't be able to cover everything. But I just, as some of you know, there are a couple charter amendments that I'm part of. One of the, I wasn't planning on really being involved because I have other things that I ought to be focusing on, but I agreed to be on the initiating committee and did have some input into how they came about, and in the charter amendments to have proportional ranked choice voting with some proportionality, and then to change the ward seats to at-large seats, they have made a splash, a belly flop. I wanted to, describing everything wouldn't be time for that, but there. I don't think, people say this till the cows come home, that's not a partisan thing. Of course, a lot of people said that the citizen initiative last year wasn't a partisan thing, and that didn't stop Democrats from campaigning, and successfully about it being a partisan Republican thing. And so it's, League of Women Voters has been supporting proportional ranked choice voting. There was something they were exploring for a while, and recently supported it for municipalities, and for a lot of people, that League of Voters doesn't seem very different from Democrats, but a lot of their organization is different. I'm the only officer of the Augusta Democrats who's on this, and I was reached out. Won't tell the whole history, but the reason for the ward change, which is something that, people understand ranked choice voting, whether you like it or not, people kind of know what it is. The proportional part is that with multi-winner elections, you have a lower quota. So anybody who gets, at least like a two-way race, anybody who gets over a third of the vote is guaranteed a seat. And we don't specifically, the mechanism is sort of, if the charter amendment was adopted, it would be left for the council would be directed to have the details, but there's framework. Portland uses this method. The reason for the ward change is to allow to at-larges to have more seats, and just like right now, the only two winner elections you have are, it's two elections for two seats each, for 4 seats total, 2 in the council, 2 in the school board, 1 election for 2 seats on each side, every 3 years. But if you had all the elections at large, then you'd have either 2 winner or 3 winner elections. And just by itself, that would not be what we're hoping for, but the two changes together result in more broad proportionality. There'll be more time to talk about that. I guess that's I've said what I have to say. I wanted to explain. I wanted to kind of give a little bit of side of it, and I can certainly answer more. But it's something that I do think this is educational. I think sometimes the process, and part of the reason we did it separate is because we have to. I'll wrap up soon, but if it's judged to be a certain level of significance, it's something that has to go through a charter commission. And we do have this little, state law provides for a little backup that basically if you collect all the signatures, all the effort doesn't go to waste. So if it's determined that it couldn't be, if we collected the signatures and it was determined that it had to go to a commission, that would be what we would be requesting, and there'd be a vote. Apparently there's another group has a petition. I don't know what it is yet, but there are 3 petitions out, 2 of them for us. I think hopefully this can be, people can see that as educational, and anyway, I'm done.
Do councilors have any questions before? Council Lynn?
Just one quick question, Kevin. Why did you choose the charter route and not change the ordinance to eliminate the wards?
Okay, that's a good, because you can do an ordinance. I think that I think the clear answer to that is that that currently the charter does say that one and that one counselor shall be elected from each ward and 4 at large, and the same for the school board. So that would, an ordinance charter is higher than ordinance. So changing to doing it via ordinance in this case would not suffice because it's in the charter. It is kind of interesting that you need, that with ordinance changes, you need more people, you need like 10 people rather than 5 to be on the committee. That's governed by the charter, whereas the changing a charter is governed by state law. And so it can be interesting, like, I guess, just like Augusta requires more signatures for at-large school board than for state representative, which a lot of people would consider a little more prominent. We require more signatures on ordinance changes than the state requires on charter, or I think more signatures, at least a larger organizing committee. So that's a simple answer. I don't think an ordinance would have worked in that case.
Okay. Councilor Lilly.
Thank you, Kevin, for coming out tonight. I understand the wards versus non-wards. I understand ranked choice voting. My question would be why?
Okay, good, and I'm not, the reason, and it's weird because I'm probably not the best person to answer that. My take, because I haven't always supported ranked choice voting, the proportional element really appeals to me, and I think, and I was reached out to about this, and at first it was kind of academic, but during this time, you had the Supreme Court decision about Voting Rights Act, and there's been this race, what I see is kind of a race to the bottom re-gerrymandering, and we don't have gerrymandering. I don't support everything with what the lines are now, but they're not gerrymandered. But just seeing, I guess it's a combination of there are other people that are interested. I thought it was worthy of having a discussion about, and seeing the national, seeing the way things are going national. I thought it got me. I'm having a struggle with this because, frankly, I'm probably personally not. There's somebody else, and I don't know whether he wishes to speak today, but to explain it better, I have certain misgivings myself, and listening to other people, including people I respect, in their takes. But I decided to be on this committee because I thought there was enough about it that I thought it was worthy of people getting a chance to see if they can get enough signatures, and then if they get enough signatures, it's up to the voters if it's determined to be valid. So that's the best I can answer. I'm sorry, it's not maybe what we're looking for, but
That's fine. Thank you, Kevin.
Of course. Councilor Garriott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Kevin. It's nice to see you.
of course.
So before I ask my question, I want to be clear that I'm not supporting either of these proposals. I think there's fundamental flaws with both of them. I'm curious about who else is involved in how this all came to be.
Okay. So yeah, I think it is public information. So I'll list Cormac Manning, who happens to be the gentleman right over to my kind of due right for where I am, and who might decide to come after me, or might not, but it's up to him. I got connected to him, to Cormac, by Deb McDonough of Scarborough, and there's a similar effort there. And I'll be honest, in some ways, Scarborough might be set up a little bit better for this because they don't have ward seats, and currently you have, I think, like 3 winner at least election for council, maybe for school board too. You've seen one side sweep and one faction, if you will, and then the other faction. So there's a little bit more. One can more easily point to a problem there than here. But when groups, when state groups get involved with something, people think, why not your own town? And so I was reached out to about this, and people felt really strongly, and because Cormac's actually lived in Ireland, and where the system, where proportional ranked choice voting is actually the norm. And there's a lot of good, we were one of the first, the US was one of the first republics. We have a lot, we've taught the world a lot of, we've been a good example for the world in many ways. I think we can sometimes learn from other countries too. But yeah, that it came out, it came from there, and being somebody, I was partly sought out as just presidential support, but also as somebody who knew the lay of the land, and that's, if anybody knows me, knows that, being seen as talked about as somebody who, you'd be a good resource. That's like, catnip for me. And I had certain thoughts about people were discussing changing the terms. I said, and I had the brilliant idea of why don't we just change the word cease at large? Being sort of sarcastic when I say brilliant idea, because there's a lot of pushback there. But so that gives you some information. Others could say more because I wasn't at this at the very beginning, but that gives you a little. I guess I've said I'm done.
All right. Anyone else? All right, thank you for offering some of your
course.
insight and explanation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else like to participate in the open comment period?
Mayor, anybody mind if I open in prayer? Heavenly Father, we just ask you to come into this room and bring your presence here, even if I'm the only one who wants you here. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for taking the time with me. You've been so gracious with me. You've been corresponding with me. You've been very open with me. Council, it's nice to see you. I'd like to let you know that I do not treat any one of you monolithically for the problems that we have here. But I think I would like to say that Augusta has become a godless hellhole, and that mostly that's the root of our problems. We now live in a zero-trust society because too few of us are accountable to any authority higher than ourselves. Our schools are lost, desperately trying to manufacture good people with no moral law. This leads me to my next point, which is ethical standards here are treated as optional suggestions. Let me remind this body, the standard is not just actual wrongdoing. It is the appearance of a conflict of interest and the appearance of evil. The mere appearance. But our society has long gone the appearance of evil. We have people that sit on Capitol Hill and don't recuse themselves when we know they're guilty of wrongdoing. Too few people here in Augusta are controlling in an incestuous way the funds that taxpayers entrust to help people in recovery. And this has nothing to do with whether or not the city is spending its own money. We got this campaign over here trying to defend MRAP, saying, well, we're not spending any taxpayer money. Well, the city of Augusta. But the problem is that the opioid settlement funds may actually be costing the city money. It depends on how you do the math, right? If we're constantly cleaning up after the wreckage that's caused by failed policy, which is the harm reduction policies, then we are actually going to end up spending a lot of city money. And look you just went through the budget thing. And unfortunately, godlessly, because you never invited God in the room, ever. We're talking about life, we're talking about death, old people, young people, how to make good people. Yet not a damn one of you ever invoked the name of God. You should be ashamed of yourselves. People's lives are entrusted to you. Listen, homelessness is not solved by more housing, which is what Courtney Garen Allen said the other day while she was surprised running down there cleaning up the trash on Maple Street because of this very meeting that's going on here, and she got busted by the main wire down there. Okay? And it's not solved with more housing, tiny homes, trailers. It's not going to be by building more infrastructure. My God, we already have enough infrastructure. What it is driven by untreated mental illness and drug addiction. The current harm reduction model is not compassionate. It's cruel. It enables addiction while the rest of us pay the price in debt, needles, trash, and declining quality of life. Now let me bring something to you. Nobody supports the death penalty in here, I imagine, especially not the liberals, right? That's cruel and unusual. Well, what if we revived him at the last minute? And then tomorrow we go kill him again. And the day after that, and the day after that. But at least those people would be locked away in a cage. No, we got to deal with this shit, literal shit, used tampons, used rubbers, and crap in homeland encampments down here. It's embarrassing. This is the capital city. And this over here is supposed to be responsible for this harm reduction model, starts the Church of Safe injection, ludicrous model this harm reduction is. What we're doing is enabling a cycle. If these policies work, the streets would be getting cleaner. Instead, the crisis grows, and it's used to justify even more funding for the same failed approach. But we will just throw money at it, failed programs, because because those programs decry if we just had more. Excuse me, I'm a bit nervous and passionate about this subject. Let me be clear. Recovery is not for everyone, Courtney. It is not. Recovery is for those who want it. And yes, I'm old school recovery. This isn't even beginning to talk about LD 1478 enacted to criminalize homelessness, which makes it allowed to be piss and defecate and have drugs and all the things that I can't do and Nick can't do and anybody else here that has a home can't do. You don't think these people are taking advantage of these programs?
Mr. Bodner, this way.
Okay. Aside from the ethics concerns, Mayor, there are a few questions that need to be asked. How does someone check into a sober living house, James House, and end up running in such a short period of time, 3 years? And that apparently that's a thing these days. Okay, they told me listen, please, just another minute. They said 5 years. Don't open your mouth in AA for 5 years because you don't know shit. You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. Okay, don't say anything. But yet, now we got them running a recovery house, and the next thing we got hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing into this person's hands. Unethically, I don't know. It's just there's no transparency. So why do so many people come through the program? Because employees with such minimal internal training, they get it all inside. This leads for a potential for the inmates running the asylum. And why does the organization that she leads promote the idea that recovery is for everyone, including people who are still actively using? That's insanity.
Mr. Bodner?
Yes.
I need to have you wrap up.
Thank you. I will. Why do nonprofits spend public dollars inside our city limits resist full blind item transparency, sir? Anything less is unacceptable. Any resistance to transparency is to be treated with high suspicion. I have solutions. We need an alternative model. We need faith-based recovery. We need better auditing in this city for the garbage that goes on that's supposed to be called recovery, sir. And thank you for your time and all your patience and indulgence of my going over.
Very
And
well.
I'm sure you're doing a good job, Ms. Polly. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to participate in the open comment period? All right.
I'm going to look down so I don't get arrested tonight. You know, I was led to believe that I was going to be able to speak a little more comfortably, but obviously that's not going to happen. So all I'm going to say is this, at what point are we going to get tired of Augusta being the laughing stock of the state of Maine? I mean, the school board gets laughed at in the news. Now the city council is getting laughed at in the news. At what point are we going to start reporting the good things that some of these people on this board are doing, but is getting overshadowed by the nonsense from a few on this board?
That's right.
So at what point is Augusta going to finally have their plan B?
Thank you. Others? Cormac?
Hello, Cormac Manning. I live and work in Augusta. I think looking at the time, maybe this is one for another day. Following on from what Kevin said, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm also involved in one of the initiators of the proportional ranked choice voting proposals. If you have any questions now, happy to answer. I realize you've other things to talk about as well, so I'm also happy to come back another day if you'd prefer.
Are there any right now? Okay, guess not. Thank you. Thanks for your offer. Mr. Clardy? I don't know whether you were in here when we started. We've got a 5-minute rule on the comment.
I wasn't in here when you started, and I actually hadn't meant or intended to come up and speak on this, but I kind of feel a little bit compelled in response to some of the stuff I've just heard. And first of all, I would point out that anybody who actually believes in God or believes in an Almighty knows that the Almighty needs no invitation to be in this room. So,
Amen.
and one other aspect, not directed at anybody in particular, but so much of the speech, politics I've been seeing, hearing around this town lately is based around, or seems to be based on fear, anger, resentment, stoking fear, stoking anger, and going to just making claims that this will fix something, this won't fix something, and more name calling. In my experience, those are both just loudly shouting out problems instead of actually offering any hope for a solution. And correct me if I'm wrong, for those of you who have suffered severe drug addictions and whatnot, my own experience with a small population, mostly military, is that drug addiction usually seems to come from either A, calming the anger and calming the hatred, or just feeling nothing rather than feeling a total hopelessness. You give people hope, you give them something to replace their addiction with. If you focus on just taking away their addiction, once you take away that support, then they still have nothing else. So it tends to fail. That's my own observation, my own opinion. So I would really encourage everybody to start coming forward, trying to find ways to build hope in the city. My own ward counselor kept reiterating during the budget discussions that at some point we need to build the city's economy so we can afford to actually fix things. That would be offering hope, and I would hope that would be the direction that you and everybody behind me and everybody within the city confines tries to take us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do councilors have any questions? No, I guess not. Thank you. We're still in Part B, open comment period for persons wishing to address the council. Are there any others at this point? Okay, we're going to move on to Part C then. And the first topic under Part C is a discussion of essential air service for Augusta and city manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll have Matt Nazar, I believe he's here. Thank you, Matt, I didn't see you, come up. Obviously, we had a presentation from our 2 out of the 3 essential air service providers last week. In discussion from there, we were provided with some options that the council obviously had questions on at the time. We do have one of the Central Air Service folks back here today, Contour, to answer any questions you might have of them. But I would probably, Your Honor, if it's okay with you, everybody knows what the options are for each. Cape Air is the existing carrier. It's a Boston-only option. Contour offers a Boston option as well as a DC option. And Matt, our airport director, couldn't be here tonight, but Matt has some information, further information that we've found out from the DOT, the federal DOT, that I think would be essential to this conversation, and then open it up for discussion.
Correct. And thank you, City Manager, Mr. Mayor, councilors. Matt Nazar, Director of Development Services for the City of Augusta. As the manager said, we do have Ben Munson here, who is the president of Contour Airlines. If you have any questions for him with respect to the service that they are providing or presenting as one of the options for essential air service. I had a conversation with John Guimond, our airport manager. He would have been here tonight, but is unable to be. He had a conversation with the folks at US DOT down in Washington, D.C., and there were 2 things I think that are somewhat relevant to the discussion this evening. One is that a service only to Boston, if that were the choice of the city of Augusta for Contour Airlines, if that were the company to go with, would be something that the city would have to provide fairly significant justification for with USDOT, because that is the service that is currently provided by the other provider that is also bidding on this service and is provided at a lower subsidy. So there would be something that would have to be significant conversation and justification to USDOT. They do pay very close attention to the city's recommendations and to the recommendations of any residents of the community in the area. So it is very important to them, but obviously that issue is important to them as well, the subsidy costs. The other thing that was important was that if the city chose one particular option, because Contour is offering three, if the city chose one of those three and decided that you wanted to switch in the middle of the contract, that would be something that the USDOT could support and would be okay with. So if for some reason you decided that you had chosen to recommend a mixture of Dulles and Boston as the service that you would recommend, and you get a year into it and it's not working out, that is something that we could have a conversation with USDOT about and say, we'd really like to just have Boston. They wouldn't change the subsidy at all, so that'd be something that they did say. But the subsidy for Dulles and Boston was a little bit more anyway than just going Boston.
And if we chose Boston, it'd be a little bit more difficult to go the
Yes.
other way, right?
Yes,
Because
it
the
would.
subsidy's lower, and then we would have to come up with
Yes.
the difference in subsidy on our own, I believe, is what they
Correct.
said. So you're better off, if that's the route that you're looking at for Contour, starting out with both, and then scaling it back rather than trying to ramp it up is the message we received.
Correct. And I had a conversation with Ben earlier today. He said he would be supportive of that approach too if the city wanted to take that approach. He'd be happy to talk to you about that or any other questions you might have.
Questions, Councilor Sienkiewicz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe I was one of the people that wanted just the Boston, but hearing this information and other information over the course of the week, I am very happy to change I don't know how many of us were in that boat, but I'm happy to change to the dual, the Boston and Dulles. I don't know if this is part of the conversation tonight, but I am still more comfortable with a 2-year contract to start with, rather than jumping to the 4-year, with the possibility of changing to a 4-year if things go well after that initial 2-year contract.
It is part of the conversation this evening. What would happen if the city chose a 2-year contract is that it would go back out to rebid by USDOT in 2 years, and Contour and other bidders would have an opportunity to rebid at the 2-year period. So it wouldn't simply be an extension of Contour's contract to 4 years. It would be a rebid process.
Yeah, given the significant change, I'm most comfortable with a 2-year. And I think those are the two things you were asking for tonight, right? Is the contract length and which schedules?
And which carrier?
And which carrier?
Oh, and I was one of.
I will say everybody was in favor of Contour.
Yeah.
There was no otherwise.
So those are my input. Thank you.
So where we are is we have to make a recommendation by June 5th. Our next business meeting is June 4th. So what
Correct.
we're trying to do is frame an order that captures the will of most of the council, and that's why those points are still under discussion. Councilor Lind, and then Councilor Bishop.
So Matt, I want to talk a little bit about this 2-year, 4-year cycle and the funding that's associated with it. So if we decided on a 4-year, is the funding locked at that point? Is it earmarked or fenced?
The EAS program, and Ben could probably answer that better than I can. And if
Because I was leaning towards a 2-year, but as you talked and you said I had to go back out for rebid with
Right.
with the supplement being significant.
Yep.
I'm wondering about the risk that in 2 years, all of a sudden now, there's change in administration, the money changes, and we're at risk of not receiving that. If we could lock into 4,
Yeah.
there may be an advantage to that financially.
If the board would indulge, the mayor would indulge,
Mr. Munson?
Mr. Munson certainly would have more information about how the EAS system works than I do on that.
I just understand my background a little bit. You know, I know the fiscal year for the feds go 1 year at a time, but I came from DOT. We had what we call the FIEP. And it was a 5-year budget plan, really, was how you could project. So I'm assuming DOT goes 2-4? Is that why it's a 2-4?
Correct, yeah. We've had 3-year bids as well.
Okay.
So, and what I'd say from Contour's perspective is we would very much support 2, 3, 4 years, whatever the preference of the body is. There's an advantage for the carrier as well, to the extent that if it's 4 years, it is locked in. There's an escalator of a couple % that's baked into that. But the risk for us over a 4-year term is that if fuel goes through the roof, we don't have that protection either. We generally would bias 4 years if the community is open to it, because of the risk that ultimately, whatever this body decides, the DOT makes the selection. And in 2 years, if there was another carrier that came in that met the requirement, there's a different administration with a different outlook, with a significantly lower subsidy, there could be a risk that you might not get the selection that this body prefers. That said, I could understand the sentiment of we're new to the community, and we would very much support coming in for a 2-year term and demonstrating our capability here.
Have you bridged administrations?
Yes, yeah, we have. We've been doing, we've been in the Essential Air Service program for about 10 years.
How's the funding? Is it steady? Is it up and down, stable?
It's generally gone up. In the latest FAA reauthorization, which was in 2024, that it increased at that time. There has been, I think, variations between administration about how heavily they'll weigh the community recommendation. There's been times when, like on an individual case-by-case basis, different administrations might skew towards something that's a lower subsidy ask.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Michoud?
I would go with a 4-year. I think if we can lock the 4 2 years goes by so quick. And in recent history, I think it's been 4-year terms over and over and over again. And again, I think as volatile as everything is, I think it would behoove us to make sure that we're locked for a 4-year period and see what happens. I think 2 years, again, volatility in everything right now is rolling the dice. So Contour Air is one of the more respectable airlines, and I believe it's going to open new doors to the city of Augusta, and I'm absolutely 110% in favor of it, but I would prefer to see that be a 4-year piece, because it goes by so fast, and I think it's a more comfortable thing to give it 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Judkins, and then over.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it safe to say that coming in this transition, that you're going to have some upfront costs, marketing? I understand there's going to be some infrastructure built out and such.
Yeah, the biggest capital expense that we'll have will be on the infrastructure side. So, and we'll make that investment regardless of whether it's 2 years or 4 years. Marketing, that's more of a steady cadence. Our bid had $75,000. We'll probably set that per year. We'll probably skew that a little heavier to start, just to make sure that there's awareness about the product, but we'll do that in partnership with the community.
Okay. Well, just for that alone, I think it's only fair and reasonable to allow someone to spread that startup, especially an infrastructure build-out, which will be expensive, to stretch that recap out over 4 years rather than just 2. I think that's fair and reasonable. And as our previous speaker had mentioned, our focus is clearly starting to move towards economic development for this city. I think this is a big step. 100%, maybe 110% for it. So Contour, Plan B.
4 years.
4 years.
Councilor Gary Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also support a 4-year plan. I think that I'm looking for some stability around the air service in our city. I'm also very excited about this proposal from the moment I saw it in my packet, particularly around the access to both Boston and Dulles, and the possibility and the hope of having so much economic development around the increase in capacity for the plane. And then I think you talked about last week that it may actually result in the need for a larger building on the airport so that you can receive more folks. I see that as a benefit to the city, as it would it would be paid for by the state or the federal government and wouldn't be at the hands of our city budget. And so I just see this as a 100% win. I'm very excited that the next time somebody says, should I fly into Portland or should I fly into Augusta? I'm going to be able to confidently say, please fly into Augusta. I'll be there to pick you up. So welcome to Augusta, hopefully, and we look forward to seeing what you're able to do with us.
Thank you so much.
Councilor Morris Polly?
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm in support absolutely of Contour Plan B. The other thing is that I do think that when you're looking at economic growth, you have to give it time in order to build relationships, in order to build stability. So I think that it's essential, from my point of view, would be a 4-year contract. I think that you are new to the community, but I don't think that you're new to this business. And so, being solid in a business can really flow across multiple different communities. So I would be supporting the 4-year.
And are you in favor of both destinations?
Both Dulles, yes, absolutely.
Councilor Lilly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you coming back and answering a couple questions for us, or just gauging the temperature of what we're looking at for recommendation. I echo most of what everybody else is saying tonight. I'm excited for your business to come here. I'm excited for the possibility and the opportunities. I think the big thing for me is that I would need to be able to see it go past Boston. We're talking about economic growth. We already have the ability to get to Boston. Let's go further. So that's what you recommended to us. So I feel fine with that. So your business at both locations and for 4 years is what I would recommend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm in favor of, I was leaning towards a 2 just to try it, but, the DC politics, 2 years is nothing, so 4 years is where I'm at. I'm at the Dulles, Boston route. That's great. I want to compliment you for the percentage of veterans you have in your aircraft maintenance section. And my background is in the Maine Air National Guard. We have aircraft here that were, they're as old as I am. They were built, the KC-135 was built in late 50s, early 60s. And what people don't understand is how strict aircraft maintenance is and the discipline that's required. You lose a screwdriver in a hangar and your fleet shuts down. You lose a screw and that plane's not moving. I mean, so to hire those veterans like that is sound. And the gentleman that came up actually was a retired veteran that somebody termed it interrogated, but I talked to him quite a while. So that was impressive. Thank you. It's a pretty looking plane. That's awful nice. The paint is great, but I hope this goes. I really do. So 4 years, Dulles, Boston, and looking forward to, and the $75,000, advertisement marketing is we're grateful. Thank you.
We're really excited to potentially be part of this community and deploy that here.
And one of your observations that we're going to be in competition with PWM with Portland is astute. That's probably our biggest competitor. Bangor maybe, but not really. Portland's going to be.
I suspect that's where we'll be competing.
Yep, and I'm looking forward to that competition. So thank you.
Thank you.
So the consensus I hear is Contour, both destinations, 4-year term. We still have to vote on it. We'll have an order on the next business meeting agenda with those parameters, whatever is appropriate for DOT.
Yep.
Anything else on this subject? Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. Munson.
Thank you for the time.
You. So we have 10 minutes before our community forum, and one topic left on our agenda, proper display of taxi cab driver identification. Councilor Lynn?
This will be quick. So if you recall, when we changed the ordinance, I kind of discovered that we did not require identification of the driver within the taxi cab. And I wanted to amend it, but we're on the second read, and our attorney said, if you do that, we got to go back to the first read. Just wait till later, so this is later. So I'm going to read my amendment. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think it's controversial at all. And this goes back because I'm old. I used to ride in cabs before Uber, and there was always a picture of the cab driver so you could report if there was an incident. So it's going to be at the end of the amendment, so it'll be 250-21, display and issuance of driver identification number. It should be unlawful for any person to drive a taxi within the city without obtaining a taxi cab driver's license issued by the city clerk. A taxi cab driver's license will state the driver's name, identification number, the dates of issuance and expiration, and the name and address of the taxi cab operator's business address, as well as a photo of the driver, and must be displayed in the taxi cab in a location viewable by passengers. The cost of the identification number shall be borne by the driver. That's it. We're just asking them to pay for it and have that displayed in the cab, and I want to put that on an order for next week so we can get that added to our ordinance.
Okay.
Cam's got it.
Councilor Lilly?
Thank you. I just wanted to give thanks to Councilor Lynn for bringing that forward. I think it's important. You have that with the Uber and you have that with the Lyft. It's just on the phone instead. So I appreciate that. And I hope that in some way we can, I don't know if we've had any taxi cab. I know we've had some talks about it, but do we have any people that have applied yet since we've changed
Nothing
anything?
new.
Okay. Well, this would be
Talk, but no applications.
in my work today, 2 people were stranded down in Hollowell after getting a ride from my work. We had to go rescue them. Say rescue from Hollowell to Augusta doesn't sound like much, but there was some rain today, so that was through Uber and Lyft. So my plea to anybody here in the area who wants to start a taxi cab or wants to partner with us on that and give us ideas on how to make that happen, please, because it's something that we need here in this city, because even with Uber and Lyft, we are still far behind. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on this subject? Anything else by way of announcements before we break? Great. I'm about to adjourn this informational meeting of the Augusta City Council. Once we adjourn, we're going to, whoever wants to, can rejoin the group downstairs in the lecture hall on the first floor for purposes of the community forum, which will start at or about 7 p.m. There will be overflow space in the council chambers if there isn't enough seating downstairs, and you'll be able to watch it. So with that, adjourn the informational meeting, and we'll get together shortly.